Greetings once again, y'all. It is Jim Caldwell. I'm the Marketing Director and Public Relations Manager for the Kentucky Educational Development Corporation. And I'm also our podcast host. And I do all kinds of these things, all kinds of videos, and all the fun that is to relate to the community. Coming up in July, we have our second annual AI Summit. We have asked presenters from across Kentucky and some that will be here from across the country how they are using AI in their classrooms and what benefit it is for you to come to our conference to learn a little bit more. And today we're bringing in one of our presenters. That's Breanna Adams. Breanna, we appreciate you so much for being here with us, and thank you for taking time just to talk a little bit about what's going on out there.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
So let's just jump right into it. You're one of our presenters. You're going to do one of our breakout sessions and all that. So first of all, give us a little background on you. What do you teach? Where do you teach? And then we'll dig into the AI stuff.
Okay. I currently teach at Kirksville Elementary in Madison County. I teach fourth grade writing and social studies. I'm going into my 22nd year teaching. So I've been at it for a very long time. But I really enjoy all the new things that are coming along with technology. I guess starting like with COVID, I kind of was forced into all the things technology related. And so I decided then that I wasn't going to be like the dinosaur, and I was going to make myself learn all the things. And so I just jumped right in and started learning all the things. And so my session that I'm going to be teaching is about Canva. And so I guess over the last few years, I've really learned a lot about Canva, and I've really incorporated it a lot into my classroom. And so my session is about how I use Canva in my classroom. And so it's all about all the things that I do with my students, and all the ways that you can use Canva in your classroom. And so we basically are just going to go through how I use it and what you can do to do projects with your students. So, and it's all the ways that Canva uses AI. And how you can use it in your classroom. So we'll start out with just some of the basics that Canva has, and then we'll jump right into Canva's magic media, how you can use their video, the magic media for making videos, for making images. And then we'll talk about how you can make podcasts, how I use Canva to make podcasts with my students, how I use it to make podcasts personally, and then how I use Canva to make recordings for picture books. I've used it for myself to give to my students, how I record picture books. And then I've also had my students to record picture books. So we will talk about both ways to do that. We talk about making digital comics. We'll talk about making infographics. So we'll do all those things in my session. So I'll give you examples, and then we'll also look at how you can do that hands-on. So we'll do a lot in that 50-minute time period. So and then you'll go away with all those examples, and then I'll give you the presentation to take back in your classroom with you when you leave.
So you already said stuff. I use Canva too. I use it probably every day, if not every day, every other day. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of us do now, right? Because it's
Yeah.
it's just so rich in resources. But I didn't know there, about the podcast stuff. I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So it's little things like that a session like yours, even though many of us probably use it, some of the things are hidden or we just don't see them quite
Right.
regularly, right? So um, you pointed out something there. You're talking about when COVID hit, it changed. We all know it changed everything. It changed education. It changed the way that we all studied it. So tell me, because of 22 years, this when COVID hit, it wasn't 22 years, but you're 22
Right.
years, you still want to adapt, even though you've got retirement years are in sight. You can see them,
Right.
but here you are still trying. Is that because you love your students and you want them to learn? Just explain why you wanted to adapt so much.
Yes, because I mean, like I said, I know that, students are changing every day, and I know that they're wanting to learn. They know way more about technology than I do. I can put something out there and they can learn a whole lot more about it in just a few minutes than I can. But when I put something out there, it just amazes me at their excitement. I know last year I did an AI assignment with them, and we got to use Chat GPT, and just doing some different things with them, and their level of excitement that they brought to the classroom was just amazing to me. And when we started out, they were very skeptical. I heard all the things like, oh, AI is going to take over the classroom. I don't want to do that. A lot of that, and I think was things that they had heard, adults in their lives talk about, and those kinds of things. And, so we had a whole time that we talked about, you know, AI can be used for the good, but it can also be used for the bad. And it just depends on, how you use it. And so we had a whole conversation about that. And so I think that, a lot of that is, we as educators have to talk to our students, and we have to explain to them, you know, with everything, it can be used for good and it can be used for bad. It just depends on, how are we going to use that? How are we going to talk to them about it? And, how are we going to educate them? And so, just as, and I explained to them, I had to learn, I had to experience that for myself. And, every day I'm learning. And so I use that as an experience for them. I had to tell them I have to learn every day. I'm always learning. And so I think it helps them to see that if I'm learning, they can learn too. And so I think, it's good for my students to see that if I'm learning, they can, they can learn too. And so they see me mess up. They see, sometimes they teach me things. They'll show me, hey, I learned this, or I can do this. And I'm like, well, that's faster that way. Um, and so we're always learning. I teach fourth graders. So, sometimes they show me how to make videos, or they show me, how to edit videos or something. And I'm like, oh, well, that's a whole lot faster this way than I knew how to do. So we're always learning from each other. So I think that that's important. And, 20 years ago, I didn't have that mindset. And so I think that that's always something that's important, to always be willing to learn and be willing to change and adapt.
And that's what we've been. Any of the COVID kids or the COVID educators have learned that. You
Yeah.
had to, you had to change a lot there in a hurry.
Yes.
So people definitely need to come to our AI summit, and they need to sign up for your session, because Canva, like I said, it's part of everyday life. Everybody's using it right now.
Right.
It's a better alternative because it's not so advanced that a lot of people out there can't understand. I try to go into Photoshop, and it takes me 20 minutes to do what I could do in Canva in just a couple of minutes.
Right.
So but you're going to give us some insight on how it has helped perform, and help your classroom perform in a better way as well. And then you said there are some AI tools inside of Canva. Can
Correct.
you just kind of hint on some of those and what you'll be kind of referring to when you get into the session?
So the biggest thing that I use is Canva's magic media tools. So you can create images, you can create videos, and so It works a lot like you can create things in like Chat GPT or like Gemini, where you can ask, you can like put in a prompt and it will create something for you. But in Canva, it'll do that, and then you can use that with whatever you're making or whatever. So it kind of does that all in one, like a one-stop shop. So we'll be using that to use with whatever we're working on in the different projects that I'm showing. So we'll be using that format.
Excellent. All right. Again, just little tricks of the trade
Yes.
that can, enhance everybody's experience. So, uh, again, appreciate you coming out of Madison County, right?
Yes.
Coming out of Madison County and riding up here to Lexington in July to see us at the Hyatt Regency. So, should be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me here this morning. Okay.
You're very welcome.
All right. We'll send her to the back for a moment, but a lot of fun and a lot of exciting things will be happening at our AI Summit. Our AI Summit will be going on in July. And as we get ready for it, we want as many of you to sign up as we can possibly get. It's really kind of a revolutionary thing, y'all. It really is. And we've got so many options and so much learning that can happen for all of us and how it can impact our classroom. So be sure to check us out at that time. Thank you all for joining. I'm Jim Caldwell.